On today's episode of WatchJRGo, we are back in the shop with this 1983 Grasshopper 1210 mower that we bought and tried to get running with JB Weld in the last episode, and things didn't go so well. What is going on, guys? I'm WatchJRGo, and today, like I said, we are back with the Grasshopper mower with this Kohler 301S on it. And in the last episode, we tried everything to get it to run. We started by putting the bolts back in the starter, which were taken off. We also had to put the valve springs back in place because the keepers were out. We had to rebuild the carburetor quickly. We had to get power to the ignition coil, and then we had to fix the points that trigger the ignition coil. And last but not least, we had to repair the head with JB Weld. And we were able to get compression out of the engine because there was a hole in the head, but now the starter has locked up. Before we fully throw in the towel, I do want to try the starter one more time now that it's had a day to cool down. And we'll kick the ignition over right here. Oh yeah, that starter is toast. One more try. No go. With that said, our next steps, if we were gonna keep fixing the Kohler, would be to buy a new head. I know I saw the comments yesterday about buying a new head for about $30. I do understand that we could buy a head, 30 plus 10 shipping. There's another 40. It's probably gonna need a head gasket at minimum. I assume that's gonna cost me about $10 shipped, maybe a hair more. And then the used starter for this thing is about $46 shipped. So we'd have a little over $100 in maybe getting it to run. Then we still have to check the valve adjustments and figure out how to put the rest of this thing back together. It's not hard, obviously, but there's a lot of time going into this. Or we could just go to Harbor Freight and buy a whole 420 for just a hair more and have a new engine with a warranty. So with that said, I think it's the end of the road for the Kohler. I do think, you know, we probably have compression now. Some people were mentioning that the compression release could be, it has an internal compression release, and that might be why it only had 30 PSI. And that is actually a good guess. I think we'd have to use the governor and kind of push it into the running position to shut the compression release off. So my JB Weld very well could have fixed the head. And obviously we have spark now. We pretty much had everything we needed to make it run. And then some people said put an impact on the crank pulley, but you can't, right? This thing is all caged in, and the crank pulley is directly behind all of the metal that supports the rear of this thing. So there is no way for me to get an impact on here and keep spinning it over. Otherwise, I would be more than happy to start this thing up with a 1/2 inch impact. We all know that will work. But unfortunately, I don't think it's in the cards for this engine. Right after we did all this work, all that fresh oil, I went ahead and soaked everything on the output side of the engine with Knocker Loose, including the set screw there, the hex set screw on the Lovejoy connector, and the pulleys, the shaft. I just soaked it all with Knocker Loose. So hopefully we can actually take that stuff apart. But with that said, let's head over to Harbor Freight, pick up the 420 that's supposed to be a drop-in replacement. This was like a 10 horse. 12 horse, it's a 12 horse. And the 420 I think is also a 12 horse. And I did check the shaft sizes. I think they're the same. I think the mounting bracket gets close. So we're about to find out if it actually just drops right in. Let's go pick up an engine and try to make this thing mow by the end of the day. All right, guys, we are here at Harbor Freight. Let's run inside and get an engine. There we go, we're ready to rock. Let's go get this thing on the mower. And we are back at the shop with our Predator here. Just cut the box open. Look at that. You can even rejet this thing for different altitudes. And maybe another float bowl gasket. Kind of cool. All right. This is what we were looking for. Gas only, no E85. And a starter that works. So that's what we were really going for here. I'm gonna go ahead and start unbolting the Kohler, getting everything off the output shaft, and then we'll get busy with our engine swap here. I do think the Kohler, and both of these are pretty heavy, right? You can definitely lift that box by yourself, but it's not exactly easy, especially when you gotta position an engine. So I'm gonna drag the engine hoist over here, use it to get the Kohler out, and then use it to drop the Predator right back in its spot. And hopefully the mounting plates line up. I did a lot of measuring on this, and I checked the website, and I think my conclusion I came to was they don't line up. But this is just a solid piece of plate steel, so hopefully if the output shaft height is the same, everything's gonna work out. We can just punch 4 new holes and bolt it down. Here's where we're at on our Predator swap. You can see I've got it sitting here lined up with the shaft. So our Lovejoy's right there and our shaft is right there, our output shaft. And it has clearance issues, but not really. So the thing is, this sits about 20 centimeters or something like that too low. I actually need to get these on a flat surface and make sure they're perfectly lined up so we can figure all this out exactly. But the old engine was shimmed and everything, so that was impressive. Very cool to find little round shims that were stacked up on the mounting bolts to make sure the old engine fit perfectly. So with that said, this one has to be lifted up quite a bit, and once it is lifted up, I think it will fit even with the evap canister and all that good stuff that's on this engine. So we don't have to modify anything. The only thing that doesn't fit is the pull rope. So once you put it down in with the Lovejoy, the pull rope does not fit at all. I do need to delete this real quick, which just means taking out 3 8mm bolts, and then we should be ready to slide this thing into position. I wish I had like a short cover that would replace the pull starter here. Maybe I can 3D print something that will guard the flywheel slash crankcase fan here that sits right behind this, right? This shroud is for the fan that cools the head. If I could 3D print something with a grill in it, that would be really cool so that we could solve our clearance issue and still have a replacement that sits on the front of the engine. But with that said, I think that thin unistrut is the exact height that I need to make the Lovejoy match up. So if it is, instead of cutting a bunch of metal or using square tubing, we're gonna use unistrut because it's already galvanized, it's not gonna rust. So here's our plan. I cut 14 inches of unistrut X2, and we've got that sitting there ready to drop the engine onto. It supports it perfectly, and it lets us move it around more too, which is very nice. It'll let us get the position nailed, and once we add the washers, it lines up exactly. We're gonna put some fender washers on top of the unistrut there, and that gives us the exact height that we need, which is 0.8125 or 13/16 off of the old mounting position. So we have solved the mounting problem with that unistrut there, and we can just drop bolts in the holes and it's good to go. And then we found a new problem when I went to put on our drives. And it turns out, well, we'll use this side because, yeah, anyway, it just falls on because this shaft is 1 inch and the old shaft was 1 1/8. Did not know that we were gonna be off by 1/8. So I had to order a crankshaft sleeve adapter that's on the way. It should be here tomorrow, and then we can finally mount our pulleys and our Lovejoy. So it's not exactly the most straightforward thing to do these repowers. It probably is if you're doing more than one, right? And once you've got it figured out, you can order a bunch of parts, have that stuff sitting around, no problem at all. And you could also custom make your spacers down here on the bottom, but since this is a one-off, unistrut it is. So that's where we're at on the repower. Everything will be working tomorrow as long as the rest of this goes well. And I think it will. There's really nothing else that goes wrong. The Lovejoy solves all the problems. And if you guys, this is a real Lovejoy branded one. I was mind blown. I thought it would have been something made in-house or a knockoff, but nope. They used a real Lovejoy from the factory. So that's kind of cool.
I only buy the best.
Yeah, you built this originally 40 years ago, right before you were born. You built this.
This is 10 times with that walk around.
Oh please!
You're gonna mow with this and be like, you'll literally be mind blown.
I'm gonna
100%. I mean that walker is a dinosaur compared to this Grasshopper.
It's only 25 years newer.
That's still just ahead of its time.
It was that ahead of its time.
It's built exactly like a Grasshopper. Tell me they're not.
Yeah, it is built like a Grasshopper. Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Come on, man. Don't pick on my machines.
You're not wrong about it being built like a Grasshopper. I do think we should go ahead and throw a battery in here, which is funny. I don't know how the batteries sit in here. Oh, I see. It doesn't sit, it just sits right behind the washers. I was like, that battery's gonna get worn through really quickly with those washers, but it will work, so we should go ahead and toss a battery in and get ready to hook everything up. And then the other thing, I don't know if I wanna use this really nice starter solenoid right here. It's a classic, like a monster solenoid, or this solenoid right here. And the answer probably is, oh, it looks like we kind of have to use this solenoid. We don't have to, but I think we're going to. So that's probably the easy thing to do. And of course, since this is a normal engine and not like that Kohler with a coil, we don't need coil power or anything like that. It's a magneto set up off the crank or the flywheel. So this will all get deleted though. We're gonna go ahead and rip all that off and just add power and trigger the solenoid from the key. Well, I just filled the oil up on the Predator. Obviously, we're kind of stuck for another day, so we'll be back to this tomorrow. Oh yeah, it's full now. I was gonna actually screw it in and check, but it was right pretty much at the top right there. So I'd say with the oil fill plug in, she should be at the top. These things are great too because you have the dual fills, so you can fill them from either side if you need to. We're gonna tighten that one up, make sure it's tight. I think we're good here. So tomorrow, once this sleeve shows up, I'm gonna drop this thing on. I'm gonna go ahead and get the bolts all ready today, so we've got that situation solved and our spring nuts installed in the unistrut, but by tomorrow, we should be ready to start this thing up for the first time. I kind of want to start it up right now. What do you think, Eric?
Can't hurt it.
Can't hurt it. We put oil in it. All right, let's go. I'm a big fan of doing that first start on starting, you know. Gotta. Oh yeah, this thing's got a fuel level gauge in it. That is cool. And of course, this engine itself is like pre-fuel level gauge, or this mower, so we definitely don't have to worry about that. I hate to take the filter out, but I think this can fill faster than that filter. So, oh, it sure can. Choke, start. This thing should start right up. Hopefully it doesn't try to walk away from me. But I think we've solved our Kohler problem by doing this. Just kidding. All right, here we go again. It was the negative. Hey, there we go.
I thought your pliers or something.
I thought I heard the jumper cables fall. I was like, oh no, that's bad. Yeah, it runs great.
Yeah.
We're good.
Fired right up. Like it's ran before, it's weird.
We're gonna be grass hopping in no time. Well, we had to extend our little slotted screw holes there so we could pull the front unistrut back a bit, and now everything lines up just the way it needs to so we can put everything together finally. So with this all set up, we can position the engine in 3D, and also we just need one big fender washer on top to have the exact right height. So tomorrow we will have our sleeve for the crank, and this whole thing can go together. Update guys, the mower is not getting finished today, or maybe it is, but at this moment it seems like our plans have been foiled. So I didn't want this to be a three-part series. Unfortunately, I do think it's going to be when it should have been everything, including getting the engine on and going mowing. But here in Kansas, we just had another historic storm. You wouldn't believe the damage. We had 101 mile an hour winds last night. When I went to bed, it said no weather, light rain at 6 a.m. The 4 a.m. or something like that, one of the fastest winds ever recorded comes through here. Unbelievable, and it just trees down forever. Eric's power's out, so we spent the morning getting the generator out, going over to his house, getting their power going, and for some reason I still had power, well, which is great because the last 12 hours without power about 3 weeks ago was a nightmare. I mean, it really wasn't the end of the world because I do have those whole house batteries that will run everything for quite a while, but at the same time, it would not have been fun to lose the power today when it's hot and wet outside and there's no AC. So I didn't. Eric did. We got him going this morning, came back over here to go to work. We worked on the Tech Throwback Studio for a while, waiting on Amazon to show up with our crank sleeve, and it still says arriving today, and you guys know how it's been lately. It's clearly going to get canceled. And every Prime 1 day I've ordered lately has been more of a 3 or a 4 day, and I bet you guys are seeing all the same things. We all know that like Prime is fully broken for some reason, but this is where we stand on the mower, ready to drop the engine on, waiting for the crank sleeve, but instead I have about 30 minutes before it says the storm hits again and tennis ball sized hail. So as you can see, all the cars are inside. We just finished moving everything, at least the cars I don't want hailed on. And honestly, I haven't even looked at this to see if the hail was bad last night because they said it was gonna hail, but I don't see any. So thank God. The Volt's not destroyed and the truck's not destroyed. And they've been saying for a while today was gonna be tornadoes, Reed Timbers here with the Dominator and everything, and massive hail. And last night there was a lot of flooding just because the rain was so intense and those crazy winds. It was literally, they said it was like a Cat 2 hurricane, and it felt like we were living inside of a Cat 2 hurricane. So that was pretty wild. Anyway, cars are in here, storm's coming, And it looks like tomorrow is going to be the day when this mower actually runs again because, well, I shouldn't even say that. It could be the next day depending on when our parts show up. And honestly, maybe Amazon comes through. Maybe they act like the mail today and show up rain or shine. We'll see. But with that said, here is where the Grasshopper sits, and I'm ready to drop the engine in. It's full of oil. You guys saw the engine running. We are ready to go and just waiting on one part to make the magic happen. And believe me, I did call everyone in town. I called all the motor shops asking for sleeves, and nobody really had anything that would do this. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where a lot of parts are internet only. The speedo gear for that thing, no one on the planet keeps one local anymore. And crankshaft sleeves for small engines, again, nobody has them. But like I said in the last video, the Grasshopper will be grasshopping again, and that should be shortly. And like I also planned on mowing today, like I was saying. The yard is literally, the whole thing's just a mud pit. It's all full of standing water because there's nowhere for it to go at this point. Also, the PGA Tour is here this weekend. All their tents are destroyed. Eric and I went driving on the way to lunch earlier, and it's unbelievable. They had everything built, all these big covered tents with bleachers inside them and chairs and air conditioning. It's all destroyed. You would not believe how bad it looks. The whole city kind of looks like that. Trees on people's houses. So let's hope round 2 is not that bad, but it's coming right now. So you guys will be watching this as the storm's hitting. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. We have been trying to get this done for so long. I bought all these parts almost 2 months ago, and today we finally have had a chance to get the grid hung up in the Tech Throwback studio here. So you can see we use that like erector set stuff. You can actually buy all of this at Lowe's. I did not know that, and I looked forever online, but Lowe's sells all of this stuff, and that was actually pretty cool. But yeah, we built this whole grid system, and the point of it is, in the old studio we had exposed 2x4s in the ceiling. We left them so we could hang lights and stuff, but now we can just take our clamps and hang lights wherever we want. So you can kind of position lighting and cameras, and even the video monitor for the Tech Throwback cameras is going to hang off of the center of this thing. So there's a bunch of different options for hanging things. Obviously all the clamps, all the lights have those clamps built into them because that's how they were set up before. So all we got to do is spin those down. We've got these hooks, so if you need to organize wiring or temporarily put something up in there, this thing is shot into all of the floor trusses up there, so it's not coming apart. So now I can should be able to hang all the weight I want from the ceiling, and we can get back to work. So we're just waiting on a couple finishing touches in here. I'll get this room cleaned up and we will be back to shooting videos. I know people have been asking when the Tech Throwback videos are coming. They're coming. It's just been a long process to get all this finished and get this room dead quiet. We also installed the door, 100% solid core door. And when you're in there, it is very, very quiet inside that room. Anyway, we'll have it all wrapped up soon.